The rain had no mercy that morning. Cars rushed through flooded streets, umbrellas turned inside out in the wind, and no one noticed the woman who staggered across the sidewalk with trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. One more step, then another, until her knees finally gave out beneath her. She collapsed onto the cold pavement, soaked by the relentless rain as the world continued moving around her. But fate had one final surprise waiting. The first person to reach her wasn't a stranger, a paramedic, or a passerby. It was the one man she had walked away from 6 years earlier, the man whose heart she had shattered without ever looking back. And as she slowly opened her eyes in his arms, she realized that sometimes life brings us back to the place we were always meant to return. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to people around the world. 6 years earlier, Marina Ellis believed success demanded sacrifice. At 28, she had earned an incredible opportunity with an international architecture firm that promised wealth, recognition, and a future she had dreamed about since childhood. The only problem was that the opportunity required leaving her hometown immediately. Waiting there was Rowan Mercer, a humble landscape designer who had spent years building a quiet but meaningful life beside her. Rowan loved simple mornings, community projects, family dinners, and peaceful afternoons spent restoring forgotten gardens. Marina loved him deeply, but she feared that choosing love meant abandoning ambition. She convinced herself that he deserved someone who wanted the same life he did. Without giving him the chance to fight for their future together, she ended the relationship with a brief letter and disappeared into another city before sunrise. The years that followed looked impressive from the outside. Marina climbed the corporate ladder, designed award-winning buildings, traveled across countries, and attended glamorous events where cameras flashed endlessly. Yet every achievement felt strangely hollow. Friendships became temporary, relationships remained distant, and every luxury apartment she rented somehow felt colder than the tiny home she once shared with Rowan's dreams. She buried her loneliness beneath endless work until one difficult spring morning changed everything. Her company collapsed after a devastating financial scandal involving executives she had trusted. Overnight she lost her career, her savings, and the confidence she had spent years building. With nowhere else to go, Marina quietly returned to the hometown she had avoided for more than half a decade. She hoped no one would recognize her. Instead, every familiar street carried memories she could never erase. The bakery where Rowan surprised her with fresh bread before work. The old library where they studied together. The riverside path where he once promised that happiness was never about having everything but appreciating what already surrounded them. At the time she thought those words were beautiful but unrealistic. Now they echoed painfully inside her heart. That rainy afternoon she had spent hours searching unsuccessfully for temporary work. Every interview ended politely but hopelessly. Exhausted, hungry, and emotionally overwhelmed, she wandered through downtown as storm clouds darkened the sky. Her body had been running on little sleep and even less food for days. When the heavy rain suddenly poured down, she kept walking until exhaustion finally defeated determination. Her vision blurred, the sounds around her faded, and the world disappeared beneath crashing thunder. Rowan had been driving home after delivering flowers to the local hospital gardens. When traffic slowed because people gathered around someone lying on the sidewalk, he stepped out to help without hesitation. He knelt beside the unconscious woman, brushing wet hair away from her face, and froze. Time itself seemed to stop. Despite the years that had passed, he recognized Marina instantly. The memories, the heartbreak, the unanswered questions, all returned in one breathtaking moment. Yet none of that mattered as he carefully lifted her into his arms and carried her toward his truck, determined only to keep her safe. Marina awoke several hours later inside a warm guest room filled with sunlight streaming through wide windows. Fresh flowers rested beside the bed. A blanket covered her shoulders. She looked around in confusion before recognizing photographs hanging on the wall. Rowan's home had changed over the years, but its warmth remained exactly the same. Shame flooded her heart before she even saw him standing quietly in the doorway. Neither of them rushed to reopen old wounds. Rowan simply offered warm soup, clean clothes, and the reassurance that she was safe. Marina expected anger, bitterness, or accusations, but instead found calm compassion that somehow hurt even more because she knew she no longer deserved it. As the days passed while she recovered from exhaustion, she noticed the life Rowan had built. He organized neighborhood volunteers to restore abandoned parks. Elderly residents stopped by simply to thank him. Children laughed while helping him plant flowers along sidewalks. His success wasn't measured by awards or headlines but by the smiles surrounding him every single day. Watching him reminded Marina of the person she had once wanted to become before fear changed her priorities. For the first time in years, she admitted her deepest regret, not leaving for her career, but leaving without believing that love and ambition could have existed together if only she had trusted him enough to try. Instead of asking her to relive every painful mistake, Rowan invited her to help with a weekend community garden project. Reluctantly, she agreed. What began as a single afternoon turned into several weeks of planting trees, repairing benches, painting playground fences, and listening to stories from people whose lives had been quietly transformed by simple acts of kindness. Marina slowly rediscovered purpose that no corporate title had ever provided. Children proudly showed her vegetables they had grown. Elderly neighbors thanked her for restoring places where families could gather again. For the first time since leaving years ago, she smiled without forcing it. One afternoon, an elderly woman recognized Marina from long ago and gently squeezed her hand before saying that sometimes the bravest people aren't those who never make mistakes but those willing to return and make things right. Those words stayed with Marina long after the conversation ended. She realized redemption wasn't something handed to people. It was something built through countless small choices made every day. As summer approached, the town unveiled its largest renovated public garden. Families gathered beneath bright blue skies while children chased butterflies among colorful flowers. Standing beside Rowan during the celebration, Marina understood that happiness had quietly returned not because her past disappeared but because she finally faced it with honesty, humility, and gratitude. The future remained uncertain, yet for the first time uncertainty no longer frightened her. If this story has touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise so together we can continue spreading stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Special request: comment below with the words "kindness always finds a way" if you believe forgiveness and compassion can change someone's life. As the evening sunlight filled the newly restored garden, Marina looked toward the place where she had once believed everything had ended. Instead, she saw children laughing, neighbors embracing, flowers blooming, and Rowan smiling quietly beside her. She realized that the rain which had brought her to her knees had also washed away years of pride, regret, and loneliness. Sometimes life doesn't rescue us by erasing our past. Sometimes it rescues us by leading us back to the people who taught us the true meaning of kindness, hope, and unconditional love. And in that beautiful daylight, surrounded by blooming flowers and second chances, Marina finally understood that the greatest home we can ever find is not a place, but a heart willing to forgive.